everybody, how you doing? Mike Rocha here, and today we're talking about, can you play everything on one mouthpiece? The burning question for all trumpet players. So for those of you who may not know me, I'm Mike Rocha. I've been a trumpet player for over 30 years. I'm four-time Grammy nominated. I play in Gordon Goodwin's Big Fat Band and have for the last 10 years. I sit on the third chair, which is the jazz soloist seat in that band. So today we're talking about, can you play everything on one mouthpiece? And well, the answer is kind of. It might not always be the best idea, but I think a lot of people get really kind of consumed with the whole thing. For me, I like to think of mouthpieces kind of like different pairs of shoes or perhaps different golf clubs that you use on the course. Do you hit every shot when you're playing a round of golf with the same golf club? The answer is probably not, unless you're, some kind of freak of nature. So it's kind of similar with trumpet mouthpieces. So I'm going to do a little demonstration here and kind of show the differences between the mouthpieces. And the first one I'm going to use is the Vincent Bach 1.5C. 1.5C. A pretty large mouthpiece, something I would probably use for orchestral playing or maybe brass quintet. Just an area of performance where you need that nice warm round sound, and it sounds kind of like this. So nice warm round classical sound, has a really kind of almost wooden sounding articulation to it. It's not really ultra bright like a shallow mouthpiece. It's got that warmth. And when you're playing a mouthpiece like that, what you want to take note of is how your sound is kind of diffusing. Does it move outward a lot, or is it really focused? So different scenarios when we play are going to require us to have different types of timbre and width to our sound, and certain point, color, all of these things matter, and they're going to be greatly affected by which mouthpiece you play. So for this next thing I'm going to play for you, I'm going to switch mouthpieces. And I'm going to switch to a mouthpiece that I use for a lot of different settings, some for even orchestral, and just depending what seat I'm playing and what music we're doing. But I also use it for jazz, believe it or not. And I have used it for lead. It's a really good all-around mouthpiece that I like to do the majority of my playing on, but there are definitely scenarios where it falls short. This is my, it's a Warburton Top 7MD, medium deep, and I use a Bob Reeves backbore. This is the 27S, so it's actually a symphonic backbore. And it's cut for sleeves, so this piece comes off right here, and I use a number 5 sleeve. And just for those of you who are curious, I've been a Yamaha sponsored artist since 2020, and I play the LA model, Gen 2 LA. I know there's a new one out, I gotta get it, but for now I'm still using the Gen 2 LA, which I like very much. Big shout out to Wayne Bergeron and Bobby Shue for developing this horn. So what I'm gonna play now, this is the Swing Etude from the California All-State Jazz Band auditions that are going on right now. They're due October 15th if you're looking to audition, and they'll be for the band when it meets in 2025. So this is the Swing Etude for that. So what I immediately notice when I play this mouthpiece there's a lot of things, really. One is it's narrower than the 1.5C, so I'm getting a lot more support from the mouthpiece, but also when something's narrower, it causes your tone to narrow up as well. So where that 1.5C gets a super broad, open sound this direction, also creates a lot of depth this way. This sound gets a little bit more compressed from the sides, so it focuses up. which is honestly a good thing when you're playing in a jazz band, because like many jazz bands, it can get pretty loud. And you need some support to be able to get through a long, arduous gig like what we do in Gordon's band. You know, start to finish, that's about a 2-hour set nonstop. And if you've ever heard the band, it gets pretty intense at times. But this mouthpiece does give me the ability to play really high. I can get really aggressive on it to where my attack is really pointed, or I can really soften up and kind of put a lot of fuzz into my sound if I want to be playing like a ballad or something like that. So it's a really good versatile mouthpiece, where I feel like something like the 1.5C or the mouthpiece that I'm going to show you next, they're a little bit more specialized, but we find ourselves in those situations all the time. So I think it's good to have a range of mouthpieces. My case currently has 7 mouthpieces inside of it: flugelhorn, cornet, this trumpet mouthpiece, my piccolo trumpet mouthpiece. I have 2 different lead trumpet mouthpieces and my 1.5C that you heard earlier. This last mouthpiece I'm going to demonstrate for you is the mouthpiece that I use when I'm playing lead or in a horn section that requires a ton of bite, like when we're doing pop recording sessions or live gigs, and I need to really cut and I need support in the upper register to kind of help out endurance wise. That's a big factor when we're dealing with trumpet. I don't want to be overworking playing a gigantic mouthpiece when I've, got maybe a really long rehearsal and then maybe a sound check and a gig in the same day. You need some support. So the mouthpiece that really works for me for lead playing is the Yamaha Eric Miyashiro 1. And I had it cut for sleeves, again, by Bob Reeves in Los Angeles. And I used the number 4 sleeve with this mouthpiece. Now, this mouthpiece, it doesn't necessarily make me able to play higher notes. It does, however, make them easier in the sense of how much effort I have to give to be able to get a really good cutting sound when I'm playing up high. It also gives me more endurance because of it being a narrower mouthpiece. But you have to consider what it's going to do to the sound, right? It's got a pretty shallow cup. It's a pretty narrow diameter. So you're going to get a lot more highs in the sound. It's going to focus up even more. So you hear trumpet players talk about that laser sound, and it's really due to the diameter of the cup that brings that sound in and creates that focus. And then the shallowness of the cup adds a lot more higher kind of overtones in the sound, so that you're getting a more treble intensive sound. And yeah, so I'm going to be demonstrating again using the California All-State lead excerpt from this year, and I'll put it up on the screen so you can watch along. Yeah, so as you can hear, you get a lot more cut in the sound. Makes it easier to get up under those higher notes. I think the big thing to be mindful of when you're playing a lead mouthpiece is not to overblow. You hear a lot of trumpet players talk about backing off when they're in the upper register, and it's true. You have to develop the feeling of good compression and tongue arch in order to access those notes without feeling like you have to push way out into the trumpet. Overblowing is going to spread your aperture a lot more, so you want to be really mindful of that. If you're interested in more topics like that, please check out my website. My brand new book, The Mind Body Trumpet Method, is out right now. I've got a bunch of stuff that's available for download you can check out, and yeah, we'll see you on the next one. Thanks.